Mic check. Hello. Welcome to Let's Talk Leadership. I'm your advisor and your personal consultant today. This podcast is really designed to go 30 minutes and answer a couple of questions that somebody might have that pops up on the chat relative to leadership. And I don't know what those will be, but we'll try to get a handle on them as we go from session to session. This podcast is on the platform of YouTube, and it's YouTube Live, and it's under the channel Building Renaissance Leaders. You'll find that also under Vic Vogel, I guess, if you search Google. It's really kind of designed to take 30 minutes and just answer questions on a regular basis. When I'm able to do this will kind of depend on my schedule and my time. And I post that on Building Renaissance Leader. And when I schedule it on YouTube, it will show under the Let's Talk Leadership podcast series I have going on there. So the best way to know when that's going to happen is to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It'd be great if you like it. I really love comments more than I love likes, but likes are, I guess, what the algorithm of YouTube likes. So please check that if you do. And then make sure you set up the notifications. I think you have to click that bell or whatever that says you want to be notified, because then you'll know when we're going live on these podcasts. So here we are. My name is Vic Vogel. I have 45 years in leadership and consulting and leadership, and probably another 5 years now in research development, where I've designed a new paradigm in leadership that I'm about to put on the market this summer. For anybody who's interested, it's called the Renaissance Leadership Odyssey. And it's basically saying the paradigm we're using today isn't delivering high quality leadership like we would hope. It's not necessarily that the stuff we're teaching out there is bad, so don't get excited if you're a coach or mentor. But how we do that is the biggest change that Renaissance Leadership Odyssey is putting forth. Actually, some of the stuff we're putting out there is really pretty good. But we need to change how we go about the business of correcting leaders and or training and developing leaders and helping them to become more effective for the upcoming decade or two, which has a lot of challenges to it. Stress, time, threats like AI can be perceived as a help or a threat. There's a lot to be resolved, and we just really haven't spent the time it takes to get leaders ready for that kind of world. So if you happen to be out there and you have a question, please get on the chat here. Go ahead and ask your question. Or if you're just listening to what I have to say while I'm talking during waiting on people to ask questions, at least jump on there and say who you are and where you're from and that you're engaged in here. This is something that's going to build over time. I'm not trying to build likes, so this is something I'm going to throw out there and see if it's worth the time and the energy to spend on it. If it isn't, then I'll stop it. But my big deal is to try to reach people who struggle with leadership, haven't had a chance to have leadership development, and they get an opportunity to ask questions or tell me some of the things they like to see me do future podcasts on that may help them. I'm sorry. And this isn't restricted to leaders. I mean, if you're an employee out there and you're struggling with your leader or the organization, and their leadership focus, you're welcome to jump on and ask a question too. Just, try not to uh, uh, give away your information so that people, we want to be able to protect you. We don't. Companies do troll these social media platforms, so you want to be careful what you say. And sometimes, if you're in a situation where that's an issue, now if it's not, you don't mind, feel free. Also, if I have a thing called the community over in YouTube, and you can go over there and ask questions also. Sometimes I bring up information out of the community and do podcasts from the questions I get from there, or questions I get on LinkedIn, or questions I get on Instagram or Facebook or wherever else I happen to be posted around these. And I'm almost lost track. There's so many on TikTok, all that stuff. Uh, However, uh, I want you to feel comfortable in coming on and asking your question, but it's also aimed at people like small businesses. Small businesses really don't necessarily get the opportunity to experience the same uh, consulting and expertise that larger corporations get. I know when I was consulting over my 15 years, it was mostly with billion-dollar international and domestic corporations, and multi-billion dollars for that matter. Um, and when it came to the cost of leadership development, the companies were funding that as part of developing a whole leadership group, or some senior leaders with key positions and things like that. Those kinds of projects are normally on site, and they're normally working with the individual on a consistent basis, working with them in their actual working environment, coaching with them outside of that environment, helping them kind of pick and choose the right approach to certain things at certain times. And you're actually pretty much embedded in the organization working with them. You can imagine, I'm not going to quote fees, but I will tell you it went into the thousands of dollars a week for me to be in there and do the work I was doing in some of these companies. Small businesses aren't prepared to foot that kind of money. If you're opened a restaurant on Main Street because you had a great barbecue recipe, you're probably not wanting to spend thousands of dollars for me to come in and help you become a leader. Although you are a leader, I mean, you've hired 5 or 6 people, even if it's a small business. You've hired 5 or 6 people, a couple of cooks, a couple of waiters or waitresses, a hostess, maybe. If it's a sit-down restaurant, or just an open pub or something like that, or if you happen to put together a candle shop and there's you and 2 other people, or some coffee shops I know that I like. They opened up with like initially 4 or 5 employees themselves. The problem is you can't be the barista and run the business and market it. You can't do all that yourself without significant burnout. So at some point you're going to hire people. When you do, you have to assume a leadership role, and it's pretty safe to assume many of those people don't engage in leadership development. Then and that might work for a while, until you're all of a sudden you're feeling a sense of success and you're getting pushed to open a restaurant in another town, and then another restaurant, and the next thing you know you have a chain of 5 restaurants in the region, and you have 300 employees. And now you're not only are you a leader, but you now have to hire other leaders to help you run your restaurants and keep them successful and on track. And then you may be scaling up from there. I mean, if you choose to stay there and that makes your lifestyle great, that's fine. A lot of times people move on up the ladder from there, and next thing you know, you've got a major chain on your hands. These are things that those small business leaders in the beginning normally don't take the time, nor do they have the money to spend on leadership programs. It's one of the advantages, I think, of social media is that we can reach out. Um, but I have a problem if we do it just like this. I mean, uh, you can do certain things via a podcast. This is why I chose the podcast as a method for kind of getting my information and being available to help people because at least I have visual contact with somebody. Most of the time, when I'm discussing something down the road, if somebody answers, if I answer something and they like what they hear and they kind of want to continue some sort of relationship, we don't do it over a chat program. I require that we get engaged on the video conferencing side, and that helps because that provides some of the nonverbal communication that allows you to validate a lot of things when you're trying to communicate with somebody. Um, so because you can't do that through chatting all the time, or responding or doing comments. I mean, I love comments. Don't get me wrong. I would much rather have a comment than a like any day of the week, because I understand why you like something or why you disagree with it. And as long as you've got some evidence and some experience to back up your perspective, I'm open to listening to anybody because I've changed my mind a lot of times in my lifetime and career. And that's important that you have that communication flow. And those challenges and those differences of opinions that allow you to grow and how you see things. I mean, every time I see another podcast I like, saw one the other day with Daniel Goleman that I'm going to recommend. So on these programs here and the other podcasts I have, which are the Renaissance Leadership Odyssey podcast, I do one of those once a month where I go into depth on a particular topic area that I think leaders will need to understand and know to be successful down the road. Sometimes I have another series where I might bring a guest in to help also enhance and give us a different perspective. Or I might, in the future here, I'm hoping to find other podcasters who might want to come on with me or have me on their show, in which case all of those will be produced under the guest podcast that I do. And then I have what's called a question and answer in depth series. And that's a little different than what I'm doing here because what I do is I on that one podcast I do, say for the month of May or June coming up, I wait a couple of weeks. So if I have questions and comments or wherever I get some questions from, then I will come back and do a more in-depth review of what I talked about before by answering those questions and trying to enhance that podcast I did during the month. So that's a kind of a different question. And this one is just more of a lighthearted question period, if you will, where people can jump on here and say, hey, look, how do you get started as a leader? What's important to be a leader? Why is leadership important? Well, name me one organization where you don't have leaders. There are a lot more workers and followers than there are leaders, and that's by design. Not everybody wants to be a leader. Many people just want to do their job and then go home to their family, and that's how they enjoy their life. And as they sustain, of course, they want to grow and they want to feel valued and all of those kinds of things that you need to make your employees feel to keep them effective. And but not everybody wants to be a leader. A lot of people want to be leaders. And I learned this back, well, I think it was about the mid 1990s. Um, we had a trend going then. I can remember as plain as day. Somebody wrote an article in it, It had to do with flattening the company, flattening the organization, taking the pyramid and flattening down. And basically, what happened was you were eliminating much of the middle management in there that they thought were the problem. And then what would happen is we take that decision making power and take it down to the employees, and which, you know, yeah, I guess their thought process was employees would feel more valued, more important, etc. But there was a couple of things that went wrong with that process. First of all, there wasn't a lot of work put into the thought process about how employees feel about that. So one of the bumps in the road, so to speak, as we go down that path was they didn't want that responsibility. That wasn't what they were telling those leaders at the time they were displeased with. They didn't want more responsibility. They didn't want to lead. They didn't want those kind of decision powers in there. They just simply wanted to be brought into the loop about some of the how things work, because they were so close to it. They could, you were making it, in many cases leaders were making it more difficult by complicating it more, trying to create something to make themselves look better, and they would complicate it more for the employee. And what they were saying is, stop that. We got a better handle on this than most of the leaders do. Engage us in that, and we'll tell you whether it makes sense or not. And also, please look at us. We're important. Without us, if we all walked out today, you guys couldn't handle this on your own. So we'd like to be valued a little more. So that's what they were looking for, still looking for today under the same leadership paradigm we're operating under. That's why I decided to try to put forth another paradigm for leadership. But the other thing that went wrong with that process was capability, skill sets development, and things like that. Um, so flattening the organization wasn't a solution to that problem. So what what I'm trying to say is, you have a pyramid organization that's been there for a long time. It isn't that can't be better. It can be better. It's how we look at that organization. And I discuss a lot of this in the Renaissance Leadership Odyssey podcast. Why we're, the paradigm shift includes a lot of things besides just educating some things we missed over the last 4 decades. But it also includes things like how you need to structure your organization. How as an executive team and a leadership group, what those roles ought to be, and they need to be different than what we're doing right now. So that's part of that. What I try to do also with social media that is, I'm guessing, a little bit different than the current paradigm is. Social media to me is an inhibitor to communication. I have a problem with it that way. But at the same time, I'm asking people to kind of consider how they use social media. Now, here's how I've been I've been educated for about 8 years and graduate level degrees. I almost completed my doctorate. I had to get out of it because my worldwide consulting and trying to raise a family and everything, and trying to do a PhD program just wouldn't fit. I just never really got back to it because, frankly, I never needed to. I was doing the kind of work, the creativity and the change that I wanted to do without having a PhD in my pocket. I have a master's in organizational communication and with an emphasis in psychology, and a bachelor's in interpersonal communication. So communication is a tool that I use to get leaders ready to better assimilate personalize and or internalize and personalize what they need to know to become leaders, effective leaders. So a lot of times when I go in an organization, first thing I do is assess the communication, and I find I have to do a lot of communication development before I'm able to process things like emotional intelligence and skill sets and lean management or whatever else you're going to go become educated in, and then implemented those, because you can go to a course on uh, some sort of supply chain program or whatever. Uh, but there's two parts of that. That's the technical processes and all the things that are associated with supply chain management, um, or blockchain now, I guess, today. So that's one thing. But then there's the other thing about how do you get that into the organization? And that's normally where most companies fail. And that's where they knock on my door, and have knocked on our door in the past as consultants. And we go in and try to help people work through those processes. So as we get into going into the future, uh, it's become evident to me we don't get rid of leaders. They are absolutely necessary. The problem is we don't have a good sense of what their roles should be, and what the organization can do differently to enhance and optimize leadership and employees. Right now we're kind of stuck in a pattern we've been in for about 4 decades when it comes to leadership development. And frankly, what we did is we outsourced that, and that kind of became monetized. In other words, companies picked it up and they started designing their own little programs to sell you, as opposed to coming in and helping you design programs that were customized and built right for you. And so the price has gone up. I think we spent something like $166 billion a year, and it's growing every year on just leadership development. And there's a lot of research out there to say that only 25% of that gets transferred into behavior change at the working level, the hourly employee level, or 25% has some sort of impact on the organization. And that's where you send your leaders out to various training programs that are out there now all around the world. You can find a host. I mean, if last time I Googled leadership development, I think I got 8 million, or maybe it was billion. I don't know. It was a huge amount of resources. But yet here we are today, where if you look at the data from Gallup and Pew and DDI and Harvard and all those kind of, they're saying only 25 to 30% of our employee workforce are anxiously or actively engaged in their work. That means 70% aren't. And we're spending $166 million on leadership development. What should those leaders be doing? It certainly should be something that impacts those employees, shouldn't it? We would think it would be, since that's their primary role. And that's also one of the problems. We've tended to uh, create roles for leaders like director of marketing, and that director of marketing is focused on getting marketing done through people, and they're not really tied with the rest of the organization in many ways until budget time, and then it's a big fight. It's conflict, and so that's another point of difference between the Renaissance Leadership Odyssey program and the current paradigm. How you look at your leadership role, how you look at your organization in general, and its purpose and its center. Because many companies, I've gone in and asked boards of director meetings. I've sat down with the senior staff and boards when I first was brought into a major contract. And the first question I have is, why are you in business? Well, it's to satisfy shareholder equity, that kind of thing. And I'm going, well, aren't there a lot of other businesses you could be in that would be better than what you're in? Why are you in this business? And and that stumped them. And it actually divided the board and the executives amongst themselves. They were debating about, this issue. Is it about money? Is it about doing this work we do? The need and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it became, I have to stop and I have to say, well, we need to do some work up here and figure this out before we even start going down into the organization. So those are the kind of things you run into as a consultant over years and years, companies and companies that tell you we needed to change. We now need to change. Maybe we didn't need to change as fast or as different or exaggerated as maybe what we do today, because now we have things like AI who can change the whole scope of everything overnight. So leaders who don't get on top of this stuff that's happening to us now, though, that's going to be a problem. So anyway, we're pretty close to our half hour here, and I don't see anybody asking any questions. So I kind of just ramble on a little bit about what I'm doing and where I think things are in the leadership world. So I'm going to do that until this kind of catches on. I haven't sent it out on Zoom, and LinkedIn. I haven't sent it out on Facebook and all the social media platforms yet. I'll do that maybe with this particular podcast. Maybe I'll post it out with a couple of shorts and people can go see if that's something they want to do down the road. But you can do this. You can go to the Renaissance Leadership Odyssey YouTube channel and you can subscribe and go ahead and check the like. You can go in there and hit your notifications so you know when I'm going to be doing these. I don't know pretty much until Sunday what I'm going to be doing the next week, but as soon as I know Sunday, I'm going to pick 1 or 2 days during the week and I'm going to do one of these questions and answer sessions. And I'm going to do that for a little while to see if they catch on. And if they do, then we'll keep it up. If they don't, yeah, I'll just not do them anymore and I'll try a different tact in reaching people. So if you can spread that around, that would be helpful. Go to this channel, subscribe to it. The other thing is make a comment. If you've heard something I like or make it, it makes sense to you, or even if you don't like it and you want to refute it and you pretty much have some evidence based. I don't want somebody just going in and say, I hate your idea. I think it stinks. I'd really like you to be able to explain with data and evidence why I'm wrong, because that's how I learn if I'm wrong. But if you like what I'm saying, it's better to me to hit that like button. That's fine, thumbs up, whatever it is on YouTube. But go down into the comment section, kind of tell me what you liked, and that kind of helps me put out the information out there that I know people need. And that's how I use social media. I'm not, like I said, I don't care how many likes I have. What I do care about is I get some information and some knowledge out of all of the social media work I do, and it's a data gathering process for me to help me align what I know I need to put out there to help people be successful based on what I have done for 45 years, 8 years of education, and untold numbers of professional education and courses, thousands and thousands of hours in that over the course of 40 years. I'm trying to bring that to bear on what's going on today and use my knowledge and my expertise to help people who can't afford consultants, who just would, this is one way to do that. This is your chance to ask some questions and to talk and dialogue through some things. If you want to come on the air with me on one of these 30-minute sessions and we discuss something for other people to look at and make comments on during that period, you can find me through these channels too. So I will let you go, and you have a very good evening. And I appreciate any time you have spent watching this, and also I appreciate you referring it to others if you think it's worthwhile. You have a good day.